Hi guys, it's Sarah, and today I have an amazing guest. I'm so excited that she came on the show to talk with us. Her name is Beth Phillips, and she is with doTerra, and she's going to talk to us all about the doTerra business and her experience in network marketing. Hi, Beth. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for asking me. I've been looking forward to this.
Oh, thank you so much. I've been excited as well. So I guess to start off, to tell our audience a little bit about your background, like who is Beth Phillips and how did you find doTerra?
Okay, so Beth Phillips, I'm a wife. I've been married 23 years to my husband, and we have two boys, and we have moved to the Pacific Northwest about 7 years ago to try out a different lifestyle for our family. And
Nice.
that's been awesome, super fun. And I discovered doTerra by accident, kind of, about 12 years ago. And it was introduced to me because I was suffering with a migraine, and just like everything kind of went from there.
Oh, wow. Okay, so take us back. Where were you living before the Pacific Northwest, and what were you doing for work? What was your husband doing for work, and how did you happen upon doTerra accidentally?
Sure. Okay, so in we came from Southern California,
Mhm.
and I was working at the time, trying to remember back. I think I was working for a financial advisor at that
Oh,
time.
okay.
I'd been in a hospital before,
Hmm.
left there, went to a financial advisory, and then my husband was working for the studios in Hollywood and had
Oh,
been doing it
cool.
for a long, long time.
Okay, got it. And so, did you have like a desk job then? You were chained to a desk for 40 hours a week?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. So, and then back then, was it pretty like stressful living in Southern California with, bills and things like that as well?
So his studio job paid very well. So
Oh,
we
good.
were comfortable in that way, but the part that was not good in our life was his health. And that
Oh,
had to do with that work environment of the stress. Like you work 70, 80 hours a week. He was
oh,
on
wow.
call 24 hours a day, 365, and it
Okay.
was majorly affecting his health.
Okay, gotcha. And then obviously yours too, because you were suffering with migraines, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay. So, who introduced you to doTerra? How did that whole thing happen?
So I was in my accountant's office and we were doing our taxes and I got a migraine because
Oh, no. Yeah, understandable.
it happens, because you're always just like, where's everything going to fall this year? And trying to make sure
Yeah.
you did everything correctly. And so I was listening to her and I'm like, I'm listening to what you're saying, but I've got to close my eyes. I've got a migraine coming on. And she said, my daughter gave me an oil because I get migraines too. Do you want to try it?
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, sweetie. Like,
Yeah. You're like, I've tried everything. Nothing
yes,
ever helps.
it was the only prescription that I took at the time, but I had to be on like a really heavy duty one because over the counter stuff didn't work on
Didn't
my
touch
migraine.
it. Yeah.
So I was like, sure, I'll try anything right now. And so I put it on and I was amazed like in about 15 minutes because I get the optic ones. So I see the
Okay.
halos and all the things. And so all that sparkly stuff started to dissipate. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And that's what really started us was just this hope of something that could work because at the time Ryan had been struggling with acid reflux for about 8 years, really really
Oh,
bad.
that's horrible.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
was in really bad shape. He couldn't keep food down, his coloring wasn't good. He didn't look or feel good.
Yeah.
And so I came home to him and I was like, this is the only thing we haven't tried. We've got to look into this and see what's going on. Because if it could help my migraine, like maybe there's a chance that it could help you.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So what did you find that helped him with his acid reflux out of all the doTERRA products?
So it was cool. So it took me 3 months to get him to agree to go to a class because he worked.
He's the stubborn one.
He was stubborn. He didn't feel
Yeah.
good. And by the time he
Yeah.
got home from work, he did not want to leave
He was
again.
tired. Yeah, sure.
So it was like one night we came because he had not been sleeping. He hadn't slept good in like 2 weeks and he wasn't
Oh,
keeping food down. And
yeah.
I said, okay, they're having another class tonight, and you either go with me to the class or we go to the ER because you can't keep food down. Like we can't
Yeah.
continue at this
Yeah.
rate. I don't know what's going to happen with you.
Yeah.
So he chose the class over the ER. And so we went there and they told us a little bit about the oils, and they had a diffuser going
Mhm.
there. And so as he's sitting there, like, he was so grouchy because he hurt. And
Yeah.
he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but that little thing over there in the corner, I can tell is making me feel better, and I'm not sure why.
Really?
So
Wow. That's
we
pretty
we
crazy.
funny, huh? So we
Yeah.
started off with what they recommended, and then they sent us home with a book and just a little bottle of wild orange.
Okay.
So that night, and it's funny because if you look in a book, they'll have like primary recommendations, second and third.
Yeah.
Wild orange is third tier for a stomach issue. It was the only thing we
Okay.
had because everything
Yeah.
else had to be mailed to us.
Yeah.
So I put it on his stomach. I put it on his reflex points for his stomach. And
Mhm.
then I went in to wash my face, and I came back out and he was passed out asleep.
Oh my goodness. That's
So I
pretty
was
cool.
like, this is interesting. Like,
Yeah.
we think we're onto something here. So
Wow. Yeah. So how long did it take before he started feeling better with once you got the package delivered?
So yes, and you asked that question. I didn't answer.
Oh
Sorry.
no, that's okay.
So the things that we started on were the supplements. It's called Lifelong Vitality, and the reason that they work so well is they're actually absorbed in the intestine.
Oh.
So for him, that makes a big difference because then the nutrition's
Mm.
actually getting into your body, and the way these are formulated, your body recognizes it as food. So
Ah,
the uptake is way
they're
higher.
not synthetic.
Mhm. They're not synthetic.
Ah,
So he was feeling a difference in a few days. Like, he had more energy because he was actually getting some nutrition inside of his body.
mm,
So that supplement pack was huge for him. The wild orange takes down inflammation and like gas in the stomach.
mm,
So
okay.
that worked out really well for him. And then there's a digestive blend that he was using topically to help like start turning around the gut, and the
Wow.
probiotics. Those were hugely impactful for
Yeah.
strengthening the immune system and turning around everything that was happening.
That's really cool too that you can put it on topically, like the wild orange as an example, and it actually affects, his acid reflux through the skin. I mean, that's pretty cool, you
Yeah.
know.
Cool.
Um, so so he became a believer,
Yes.
and obviously I'm assuming by that point you definitely were as well. Did he join the business side of things with you, or do you run it yourself?
No, I ran it myself, and I actually didn't even start right away.
Oh,
Because of my medical background, I was waiting for the catch. I'm like,
mhm.
okay, but what's the side effect? Like, this
Yeah.
is cool, but what is it doing to your kidneys? What's it doing to your...
Yeah, good point.
So I spent about 8 months researching.
Yeah.
I was just researching because there wasn't a lot of information out about oils at that time. And so I just wanted to
Right.
make sure that what I was recommending to people would be safe. He was using everything the whole time because we were desperate, and like, we had to do something with him. So he was the perfect guinea pig. And then what happened was people started noticing changes in him, and they started asking me what we were doing. And that's actually what got me into the business. It was not a
It was
planning point,
organic.
but
Yeah,
they were
completely.
like, "What is Ryan doing? Like, he looks better. He's not so yellow. He's not so like grumpy. What are you guys doing?" And I'm like, "It's
Yeah.
these oils. They're amazing."
Oh wow. And then how about your migraines? Did they just take it down from like so many a month down to a real manageable number, or did they completely go away?
So that was interesting too. And one of the things that's fun, and I have to remember when people are trying oils,
Hmm.
is we have to remind them sometimes of when they're using an oil, because it takes things away so gently that
Hmm.
you forget that you had them. So
Hmm.
mine were hormonal based. So I would get one every other month around my
Yeah.
cycle. Because
Yeah.
you ovulate on different sides. I probably had an issue going on one side and not the other. So every other month, like clockwork, I would get a migraine.
Yeah.
And when I started taking, I didn't correlate it and I didn't know what it was in the beginning, but when I started taking that Lifelong Vitality, which is that supplement pack,
Hmm.
it's like this.
Yeah,
Fl-
that's great. Thank you for showing us.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, then I went from about 6 a year till I didn't have one for about 2 years.
Wow.
And I
For
did the
migraine
doTerra.
sufferers, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so what I think it is some kind of hormonal imbalance or just a lack of nutrients or something, and so whatever my body was lacking, these filled in the gap, and so I didn't have one for a long time, and then when I ran out 1 month and had to wait for stuff to come again, that's when I had one, and that's when I remembered and noticed. I was like, "Oh my gosh, when's the last time I had a migraine?" Like, it had been so long, but I forgot.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, and then that makes sense. You're feeling good, you're feeling normal, and you're not thinking about it constantly anymore.
Yeah.
So I had to get that leaf from my puppy because I've heard that plant behind me is actually toxic. So I better put it up high now that he's curious. No, that is awesome. That's incredible. And so what did you end up what else did you end up taking to help your migraines?
So there's a blend, which is the one she had me try. It's called Past Tense, and
Mhm.
it's a blend of oils put together for tension headaches. So
Mhm.
I would use that as needed. There's also a blend that's called Deep Blue. That's more
Mhm.
for muscle and joint pain, but I'll use that as well sometimes on my neck because you'll still get, I mean, we all get headaches, right? And it could
Yeah,
be because we have a tight jaw, or it could be because of our neck, or we slept wrong, or
sure.
stress, or hormones. So
Sure.
depending on that, like I'll use past tense or I'll use deep blue.
Okay. And so past tense helped the hormone part and deep blue helped the like daily stress and tension part.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. That's awesome. So um how did you transition from your full-time desk job to making the leap to pursuing this while, living in Southern California and hectic crazy lifestyle probably?
So I did both for about a year. Um,
Okay.
that's one of the things, like a lot of times when you're building something new, you've got to build it in the nooks and crannies of your time. And so
Yeah.
that's what I did. So I did it before and on my lunch and after.
Mhm.
And after about a year, it got to the point where I was almost matching what I was making. And
Whoa.
I went to my husband and I was like, okay, this is like, this is a lot, like trying to manage both. I'm like,
Mhm.
I can take a leap right now. I'll go back a little bit and pay, but I know like I can grow this and it's going to go beyond what I was making. I'm not
Yeah.
stuck. I don't have to ask somebody for time off anymore.
No.
Like that's what I want to do. And fortunately, he was supportive and said, go for it.
Oh my gosh, that is so exciting. So you put in the hard work and it paid off within a year.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So what about your mindset besides just like getting gritty with it, right? What helps you like focus that year the most with your mindset to be successful?
Keeping myself dialed in to things that were going to be moving me forward. So,
Okay.
one of the things that can happen is distractions are going to pop up. A lot of times, what we've seen, because now I've been doing this for quite a while, um, you'll see that you've got to surround yourself with people who are going places. You want to take advice from people who are in a position that you want to be in, not necessarily just your comfortable friends and family group. Like, we love them, but
Yeah.
sometimes unconsciously, they can be wanting to keep you where it's comfortable for them, where you are accessible to them.
Yeah.
And so if you are not surrounding yourself, and that can just be with podcasts and webinars, and it could be like
Yeah.
seminars that you go to. So much is online now, which is so great. But
No.
you need to fuel yourself with things that are helping you move forward and not just surrounding yourself with what's comfortable.
That is such good advice. Not only what's comfortable, but also their self-limiting belief systems, that they raised like I'm thinking of like parents, they raised you a certain way because maybe they were driven by security, the need for security, and they never jumped, made the leap for something entrepreneurial. And so they're concerned about you, so they're automatically going to kind of input their limiting beliefs onto you as well. And so, yeah, surrounding yourself with, like you said, people that are going places. That's such good advice. I love that. Um, what would you say like as a coach? Because doTERRA is all about, well, network marketing is all about having a team under you. What is your coaching style?
So it's developed over the years. And what I do now is I look at what people are innately great at, and we work on developing that instead of trying to increase something that's maybe a weakness for them, because that's not fun. That's not your zone of genius.
That's
So
true. Yeah.
we go from good to great. So what are you innately good at? What are you already passionate about? Because the nice thing is there's always a window for that inside of doTerra, because the application is in so many areas. We can use them with babies, with elderly, with pets. So the market is so big that I can just
Mhm.
find out what people are good at and what they love to do and help them grow that piece of themselves. So that's kind of my coaching style.
That's awesome. That's really great. Can you give uh do you happen to have an example of that? Like maybe somebody um whose strength isn't calling people, but yet this is all about networking. So like what's an example?
Yeah, for sure. So some people grow online. Most of my people, it has transitioned. I have a lot more online people than I used to.
Mm.
But a lot of my people are still person to person, because that's how I started. I wanted relationships. One of my strengths, if anybody's done Gallup Strengths Finder, is relator. And so I like deep relationships. I want to know everything about somebody when I'm with them. And
Yeah, I love
so
that.
that happens in person meetings. And
Yeah.
so one of the things that I it's easy for me to teach because I went through it. I was incredibly shy when I started. Such an introvert.
I can kind of picture that. Yeah, that you might have been.
So talking in front of four people was hard,
Yeah,
right?
right,
So
right.
some people, like when I was starting, I would see people teach classes of 20 and I would just want to die on the inside. And I would be hyperventilating, and
Yeah.
I can't do that. So I had to do one-on-ones. I met with people one-on-one. So there's lots of people on my team that it takes them some time, because we also like attracts like. So I have a tendency probably to bring in people that are a little more introverted.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
but it's so much fun. Like, I mean, what I think, because I was there, like it's so beautiful for me to watch them grow. So
Yeah.
we have a girl in Texas. Her name's Jenny. I hope it's okay to say.
Yeah.
Um, and she has blossomed over this past year. And it's just, us fueling her, like telling her the
Mhm.
greatness we see inside her, because
I
that's
like
one
that.
of the things I love about this industry so much. It doesn't
Mhm.
happen a lot in your life, especially as
Yeah.
an adult, where people tell you positive things about you. They recognize
Mhm.
and acknowledge the good things about you. And so
Yeah.
there's been so many little things that she's been nervous about doing. And then she just sent me a Facebook message a couple weeks ago that they were interviewing her on a radio, and she's up there. She's a little thing. She's like
Her.
5'4", and
Yeah.
she's up there, and these two male radio show hosts are interviewing her, and she's holding her own. And I was so
Wow.
proud of her. So she
That's
has grown so much.
incredible. Oh my gosh, that is a great story. I love that. So you're encouraging growth in in your team members by building them up, instilling confidence in them, making their self-worth grow. And so it's not just a business at that point. It's like a human development process. And like you said, it's really rewarding.
Yeah, very. Yes.
That's
Eric Worre
cool.
calls network marketing personal development with a compensation plan.
Ah, I love that. I love that. Yes, that makes sense. That does. So when you see new people coming into the business, what is the top reasons that maybe they don't make it? Like they drop out after a few years, in your opinion?
Um, that's a really good question. I think one of the reasons will be if their why, we hear about the why a lot, if their why isn't big enough, because there are hard days, there
Yeah,
are hard situations, and in anything in life, if the reason you're doing it isn't big enough, then when the hard stuff comes, you're gonna stop. So that's probably the number one, because if your why's big enough, you'll walk across hot coals if it's that important, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So for some people, like I can use myself as an example. number one, I didn't intend to build a business. Number two, I said I would never be able to speak in front of people.
Mhm.
Um, but it was because I knew that I'd almost lost my husband. And if we hadn't have found these, I probably would have. And then I was like, how many other people are in a similar situation? So it was that drive. I also have my thoughts about Western medicine. We won't get into that. But
Another video.
other video. And I was just like, people have to know that there's another option
Yeah.
that can help them, because how many people are struggling and have run through the medical system and think that there's nothing they can do. So it was that drive that made me do things that I never thought I would do. So if they don't have that internal motivator, then if stuff's hard or it's just not as easy as they thought it would be, they're going to drop out. I think that's probably the most common.
That's a great answer. It makes sense. I know off the top of my hand, like multiple people in network marketing that just kind of run it like a hobby. Maybe like Mary Kay or whatever. They enjoy the products, they enjoy the socialization, but they never become a Beth Phillips. What do you think is preventing them from taking it to the next level, maybe beyond the why? Is there anything else that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think it's exactly what you just said. And you probably don't even realize it, is they treat it like a hobby.
Okay.
And that's what it is. And the thing is, network marketing gets a bad rap from the ones who didn't go all the way but think they did. And so then they say it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? So
Okay.
if you work it like a hobby, it will pay you like a hobby.
Mhm.
If you work it like a business, it'll pay you like a business. A lot of people think
Okay.
they're doing the business, but it truly is a hobby.
What makes the difference between that? So like if the people that are thinking that they're doing it like a business, are they just spending all their energy and time on not, I can't think of the right term, but the activities that are not income producing
Right,
activities?
income producing activities. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So they will spend time. Here's the biggest time waster where people say, I put so much time into this and I haven't made money. Scrolling through Instagram and Facebook because we'll have team pages,
And
right?
marketing.
So
Right.
they get on Facebook to look at the team page and see what's going on, and an hour and a half's gone by, and they're watching cat videos, and they're like, or they're on TikTok, and they're like, I put so much time into this, and I'm just not making enough money. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how many conversations did you have? How
Yeah.
many samples did you share with people? How many classes do you have coming up? And it's zero
Mm,
for
mm,
all of those things, but they think they worked so much this week. So it's being really real about, how are you actually working, doing income producing activities,
mhm.
or are you mindlessly scrolling social media, because that will just eat up hours.
That makes perfect sense. So back to how you organically grew it, since you had a lot of person to person interactions, in my mind, I would think that that would be like the slow way, because you only have so much time in a day and a week, and you can only meet up with so many people in person. So did that? I mean, obviously, it didn't hinder your progress, but what is your thoughts about that?
Great question. Yes. So is it the slow way? Yes. But is it effective? Yes.
Okay.
So that is something that I try to explain really well when people are coming in. So many people, especially now, are expecting when they start a business that they can put a post up on Instagram and be Insta famous and grow a business,
Yeah.
because they'll see other people who did. The
Yeah.
thing is, what they don't realize is those people came in with an audience. They had influence already when
Right.
they started that. So, can you do it that way? Yes. But I also know from doing this, there's quality and there's quantity.
Hmm.
You can get a lot of quantity from social media, which is great. And some of that will turn into quality. But the people that you meet with in person, 9 times out of 10, the quality is going to be so much deeper,
Mm.
because you have an actual relationship, because you've spent
Yeah.
time together. So, an example of that would be, and I would tell people, um, I could teach a class of 4 people in a group and sign up one. I could do a one-on-one with somebody and I have 100% enrollment. So
Mm.
The numbers, like the time that you invest in it will extend the longevity of how long they're your customer. So because
Mhm.
most of my stuff has been built person to person, I have people that signed up the first month that I've done this that have ordered every single month since then.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Okay. That that's huge then. So even if it is slower, it will last longer. You're going deeper.
Yes.
Okay. That's great. Great. Um, so so what about those classes that you mentioned? Like people, how many classes have you held this week? Are those good tools, even though you're not necessarily going deep, but you have probably, I don't know, a lot more people than just one on one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I love them. Like, I love doing classes. So in the class, they're going to get an overview of the basics, like what are oils? Where do they come from? How do you use them?
Hmm.
And so in the business, that's like we do the same thing over and over and over again. So once you
Yeah.
learn the basics, like you're good to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a class setting, it does maximize your time for sure. But the reason I said like the one-on-one, because there's so many people that are like, I can't teach in front of 8 people. Like I just couldn't
Okay.
do it. So I'm like, do one-on-ones, do 8 one-on-ones. You're going to have the same thing as that if you taught 8 people, it's going to take you a little bit longer, but your
Yeah.
skill set's going to get massive and you're going to be able, it's going to grow. Then
Yeah.
you're going to be able to teach two and then four and then eight, and it happens over time.
Okay. That makes sense. Switching gears, I guess, because I looked at my notes, but I normally like to just go completely organic. But I did look at my notes. So I'm curious. Can you speak to some of the really hard moments that you've had building this business? Like what um I'm sure it hasn't all been, sunshines and
Mhm.
rainbows. So like what is the harder side of this business?
So you're building a team. It's based off of building a team. The team ratio inside of doTerra is probably about 95% women.
Hmm.
So you've got 95 percent women, estrogen happening on your team. I literally can't complain. Like I across the board have an amazing team. We have an
Awesome.
amazing culture. So
Hmm.
I realize and I'm very grateful for the people that we have. But there are personalities that rub each other the wrong way.
Sure.
I do not like conflict. So
Yeah.
having to feel like I have to resolve some of these issues, I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, I didn't get into this for that. That's not why I do this. I
Can
don't
we
want
just
to
sell
be,
products?
yeah, I'm like, I'm not a Girl Scout leader. That's what I'll tell them. I'm not your Girl Scout leader. That is not what.
Right.
So you have to have difficult conversations sometimes. And that's like
Mhm.
one of the hardest things for me.
Okay. Okay. That sounds reasonable. It sounds like real life stuff. Um, yeah, I think in my mind, as I've envisioned this business, that the it's a double-edged coin, I would imagine, that it brings you a lot of joy seeing people grow and all this. But on the flip side, it's probably just a lot of energy and effort, kind of organizing and keeping the troops moving forward. I can only imagine. So actually, that's leading me to another question. Can you describe a day in the life of a new rep, a mid-career person, mid-level, and then somebody like at your level, and maybe tell everybody what your level is if you don't mind.
Sure. Okay, so for a new person, what they're working on is talking to their network about the products. So it's telling them usually what their experience was, because that's what's interesting. People want to know why it matters to you. So they can
Yeah.
share, like, I use this and my son slept through the night for the first time, or they're using it for allergies. And then giving them a sample of something that can quickly make a result in their life and then inviting them to learn more. That's what a new person's doing.
Okay.
A
So on
mid-range
repeat. On repeat, right?
on repeat.
Okay.
Yep. Just
Cool.
many people. First, they're going to go through their warm market, and then they're going to have to go meet people once they run through that warm market.
Okay.
For a mid-range person, they're still doing that. I'm still doing that. So you're always doing that. That part is always happening.
Hmm.
It's just like the bigger mid-range, they are having team calls with their team and like helping new ones get started.
Hmm.
And then at my level, I'm Blue Diamond. So at my level, I'm doing all of those things and then like organizing bigger events for
Oh,
the team to get to.
oh, gotcha. So like booking venues and
Mhm.
and helping coach your team on inviting people.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Can we circle back to when you said the main reason people don't succeed is they're treating it, like a hobby and not doing those income producing activities? Um, what what does a typical day, what's an ideal day look like to be successful and become a blue diamond?
Okay, so ideal day, I mean, ideally, like what they say, statistic wise, like you want to be like having at least 5 conversations a day. So
Okay.
that can be new people. The more new people, the better. And that is growing your network. It's network marketing. So we have to continually expand our own network. It's checking in with people, following up with ones that you sampled who haven't got
Mhm.
products yet. And then it's following up with ones who ordered their products to make sure that they're using them because we
Mm,
want people to have success. We don't just sell stuff to sell stuff.
sure. Yeah.
And then inviting people that have had success, they're ordering consistently and they like it. It's like, hey, do you want to make some money at this? Because you can get, because we were like, that was one of the things. That's actually what pushed me into doing the business is Ryan had
Mhm.
so much going on with his
Yeah.
body. It's so much to repair, my husband,
Yeah.
that it required a couple $100 a month of stuff.
Sure.
But I mean, a couple $100 that ended up saving his life. It's like
Right. Right.
money, but I'm like, this money has to come from somewhere. And then it
Yeah.
was like, hey, if we share what's working for us and we help people get the important things that are going to help them, and I
Mhm.
can make enough money doing that, that it will cover what you need. That's why I started. That's all. That was my biggest goal. I just
Yeah.
want to cover everything that you need so that it's not coming out of our family budget. And that's
Sure.
where we started. And that's where a lot of people start.
Okay. Okay. So once the person has exhausted their warm market, um, and you mentioned introverts, can you just give a few examples for people that are thinking like, how do I go meet people? Um, I mean, on one hand, it could be really fun. Like if a person's like, I'm just gonna have a bunch of business cards or however you guys do it, and I'm gonna walk my dog down at the park today, and I'm gonna just meet people. I mean, that actually sounds kind of fun. But and can you describe how people would do that organically if they don't belong to a bunch of like civic clubs and organizations and things like that?
Just repeat what you just said. That's what we do.
Oh, really? Okay. Because that actually sounds fun. Like when I was thinking about like, well, that's what I would do. I would just go out and enjoy my life. Like if I didn't have to work full time, right? I would, if I was treating it like a business, what I want to do today, I'd go do something fun and then just talk to people along the way, the whole day.
That's exactly what I recommend.
Okay.
So it's
Cool.
just that. Some ideas we'll tell people is what I tell people now, because this is what I've learned. I'm like, exactly what you said. I'm like, go do stuff that you want to do and
Okay.
meet people along the way because for a lot of reasons. One, it's fun for you.
Hmm.
And two, you're going to meet people who are probably like minded because they're out
Yeah, because you're
doing the
doing the
thing,
same things.
right? And then
Yeah,
three, if they become part of your team, those are the kind of people you're going to want to hang out with that like to do
so
the things that you
true.
like to do. It just makes it so simple.
So true. Okay. Now that cool. I like that. Yeah, I'm assuming just because I am somebody that works full time, I'm assuming that that is the bridge that maybe people have problem with. It's just like, what by the time I get off of work, I have to, pick up the kids and make dinner and, the time to get out there and do something fun and that they actually enjoy doing. Um, but like you said, if your why is big enough, then you make it happen.
Yeah.
So
And there is like the online aspect of it now. So you can go through social media, you can friend people, you can post stuff on there. So that is another avenue.
mhm.
But this other way, one of the other things that I'll talk to people about is, Meetup has all kinds of different, like Meetup to
Oh
crochet, Meetup
yeah.
to hike, Meetup, vegan Meetup. Like
Anything. Yeah.
find something that you like to do and go meet people and do it like on a Saturday or a
Mhm.
Wednesday night and join the chess club, whatever it is that is of interest to you. And that's such an easy,
Yeah.
like somebody else has planned the event. You just get to show up and meet people and
Yeah.
it's done.
And I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming the best approach on that is to go and genuinely get to know people. Um, that takes all the fear away, right? You're not going with the intention of enrolling people the first several times you're at that meetup group.
You
So,
got it. You got
okay.
it.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, keep it informal. I like that. So what advice would you give to someone who was in your shoes, back like when you first started, um, so that they could be successful in today's market? Or maybe speak on that. Like, how much has the market of doTERRA been saturated as people might think?
When when we started, it was a different ball game. So things get easier and they get harder, and they get
Right.
harder and they get easier. When I started, we had one teaching sheet and one book. It was the
Okay.
only resources that we
Yeah.
had.
Right.
And so everything else we had to create. So we spent so much time researching, trying to figure what do you use for that? I don't know. And having to like dive through science articles to figure out what
Mm.
you would use for that. Now there's a plethora. There's like teaching sheets on anything. You can find moms and babies and how to make your own beard oil. Like there's really there's a
Yeah.
resource for everything.
Yeah.
So in that way, it's gotten so much easier for new people who are starting. You don't have to
Okay.
reinvent the wheel. It's been made and you just get to tap into it.
Okay.
When I started, we had no training materials recorded that we could access. We were all just completely winging it. It was like the blind leading the blind.
Oh man, so you got in pretty early then. When did doTERRA start?
Well, they started 2008, I
Oh
think,
really?
and
Okay.
like 2012. So like not
Okay. Yeah, pretty early on.
pretty early, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So and now there's like trainings, recording, like how there's like doTERRA even has a whole getting started for new builders already
Mhm.
recorded from top leaders that you can just go through on your own time. So the resources are there.
Okay.
We are at a different point in the market. So I don't know, and your listeners will love this if they haven't seen it. There is something called the law of diffusion of innovation. Have you heard
Hmm.
of that?
I haven't. No, tell me.
So Simon Sinek is the one that I learned it from. He's amazing.
Yes,
He
I
talks
know his book.
about how ideas or products come to market. Like, what is the trajectory of it? And so it's like a bell curve.
Okay.
And you have a tiny percentage, it's like under 3%, are the innovators. They're the ones who hear of an idea and like
Yeah.
run after it because
Early on stage. Okay.
early. Then there's, I don't know if it's like 8% or something, are the early adopters. They're
Hmm.
the ones, I think that's probably about when I came in.
Hmm.
And they're the ones that like it's not a proven concept yet, but you're just like, I can see it and
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
in it and I'll figure it out. I'm going to have to create the tools. I'm going to have to learn along the way, but I'll do it.
Yeah.
And that's a small percentage. So what we're into now is that's called the early majority. So it's 34% of the market. So it's a big chunk, but it's a different grouping of people. They're the ones who were sitting around. They're like, I've heard about these, like, but they're waiting for their aunt to use it or they're waiting for their friends to use it and have
Yeah.
success
Yeah.
before they want to dip a toe in.
Okay.
So we're at a different point in the market,
Yeah.
but it's one of the largest parts of the market.
So you're saying that 34% is untapped, potential to join your business.
Right. It's
Okay.
a
Okay.
totally, they were the ones that when we told them about oils in the beginning, they thought it was snake oil. They thought it was voodoo. They thought, like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to do anything that a white coat's not telling me. And so they had zero interest. But
Yeah.
we're transitioning because
Yeah.
oils are becoming more well known.
Mhm.
Now
Yeah.
they're open to, like, I could see maybe I could use frankincense for my arthritis. I mean, it's worth a shot. They're not too
Right.
opposed to it anymore.
Right, right. But we don't want people that only like white coat pharmaceuticals on our team. So I just have nothing in common with them. No, I'm bad. I'm more holistic minded as well. So but no, that's pretty cool. I'm glad you explained that. And I know for myself, like a network marketer, actively right now, but I do know I've had a mindset shift in the last maybe 2 years. Um, Finally, long overdue, but I used to just want the product to wow me, and then I would like buy in. I thought, but now it's more of a like an internal shift has happened where I don't. even need necessarily something that's like um, a huge testimonial story or something like that. Now, for me, it's just a belief in myself that I could do it. Um, and and yeah, so I think a lot of people, especially with the virus era that everybody went through, a lot of people their why is there now, and maybe wanting to escape the rat race, have more freedom, more opportunity for their families, and like you said, that's probably that 34%. They're more open to to trying something like this.
Yeah, I was just on Eric Worre's seminar last weekend, and the statistics, that's why I go to his stuff, because he like has such a global view and he knows the
Yeah,
stats of like very current. And
yeah,
he said there's a market of about 50 to 60 million people currently since 2020, like you said, who have now decided they want the side hustle. They want something different. They don't want to be stuck at a job. They want their
yeah,
own thing.
yeah.
And only about 3% of that number have landed in what they want to do. And the rest are still trying to figure out what that is.
And what was the percentage again? 50 something?
It's 50 to 60 million people who are
Oh,
looking, and
wow.
about 3% have landed in what they know they want to do. And the rest are still
Wow.
kind
They're
of
still
figuring it out.
looking. Oh,
Mhm.
wow. That's untapped potential there for sure. That's really neat. And is that in North America or like worldwide? Global. Okay. Well, that makes sense. That many people. Okay, cool. Um, okay, so back to the products. I know this is a question like my sister wanted me to ask you. What are some of your favorite products that you could not live without now that you have experienced probably most of them, and why?
So some of my favorites are On Guard.
Hmm.
That is like our immune boosting blend. It helps fight the bad things that shouldn't be in our body. And so I travel a lot. And so I use that extensively and it really helps my immune system. So if I feel like I'm starting to catch something, and that's what's fun about the oils is you can use if you're working on like a chronic issue, then you're going to use them 3 to 4 times a day throughout the day so that they're always in your system. Your body can pull from them what it needs to work
Yeah,
on the big issue. If you're working on an acute issue, like you feel like you're getting sick, you can be using them hourly. You can be using them a couple times an hour.
it won't
So,
hurt you.
so I do that, and what I found is I'll get exposed to stuff, but if I hit it hard and fast enough, then my body can overcome it, and now I have the antibodies, and
I
so
love
then
that.
I'm good for a little while. So On Guard is a huge one. I love frankincense. They
Hmm.
call it the king of oils for a reason. It's like so good on inflammation and mood and pain and all kinds of stuff. Um, and then our collagen, I really, really love, and it gives me energy. And I've noticed a difference in my skin and like the softness of it
Hmm.
and the hydration of it. So those are like the ones that I use every day.
Those are your faves.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I am curious. I know they come in several different forms, like the On Guard. When you're traveling, do you take the beadlets and just pop them in your mouth, or do you take do you just rub them on your skin, or like what's your favorite application of On Guard as an example?
So when I'm traveling, especially on a plane, I'll do On Guard on the bottom of my feet, on my spine as far as I can reach, in the back of the neck.
Mm.
Because in Chinese medicine, they think this is where a lot of sickness enters the body, and especially like on a plane,
Oh.
you have people coughing behind you,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
touching the seat, which is all gross. So I'll put that on before I get on the plane, and then I keep the beadlets in my purse, and I'll pop those every 1 to 2 hours, just so it's
Okay.
a little boost, waking my immune
Like
system up.
how many? I'm curious. I haven't used it. One or two. Okay, okay, cool. Well, that's awesome. I love that. And then the frankincense, how do you use that?
I use it right under my tongue.
Oh,
It is a tree, so it is maybe a acquired taste. But I'll use it 2 ways. So for anxiety, because I have anxiety, I will use it under my tongue because you have those big blood vessels
yeah.
underneath here, so it's a really quick uptake for the body. If
Yeah.
I'm having a headache, because frankincense is really good for inflammation, I'll put it on my thumb, push my thumb into the roof of my mouth,
Oh,
and hold it
okay.
there for like
Yeah.
15 seconds, and it helps trigger your vagus nerve,
Mm,
the
okay.
body down, and I'll use it that way.
That's pretty cool. I think my sister had mentioned that a long time ago, and yeah, this is the second time I've heard that. I'm glad you reminded me of that trick. It's
Yeah.
pretty neat. Um, so yeah, speaking of frankincense, my sister has found that putting it on the her eye socket every night, she swears that it has helped her vision.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting? Like so many different things that it can do. And then I love that you mentioned putting it on the bottom of your feet. I don't know how many, if people know this or not, but like, um, I I'm a wimp when it comes to like when I'm sick. You already feel like you're sick. You don't want to throw up and stuff, so you don't want to be taking like a ton of pills. That's what has been probably my favorite use of the oils is putting them on the soles of your feet because you have the largest pores down there, and it just next thing you know, you put it on your foot, and next thing you know, you can taste it.
Mhm.
I mean, it's amazing. So that's my top favorite use for it. And then another thing is kind of random, but I stumbled across the body scrub
Mhm.
recently. I ordered that for the first time. So when I'm in the shower, I'm rubbing it on like my rough hands, and I have to say, it's really cool. I'm in my 40s now, so I'm starting to get like these little age spots or sunspots or whatever they are, and they're lightening. They're going away
Hey, that's
from
awesome.
the scrub. So whatever essential oil is in that scrub is helping. It's and then of course it
Fantastic.
leaves it really really soft and stuff afterwards. So yeah, the more I use the products, the more I'm falling in love with them as well. Um, no, this has been really really helpful and enlightening. Um, did you have any words of wisdom that you wanted to maybe leave us with, or anything that I didn't ask that you wanted to bring out?
Uh, Let me think. One thing, yes, here's what I love about the products is they get to the root of the problem.
Yeah.
And so when you're suffering with something, you can't use them wrong. That's what I love
Mm,
about it. Like even if you grab the wrong oil for whatever you're working on,
yeah.
that how they work, like fundamentally,
Yeah.
is they're all filled with constituents in there. Like lavender has 200 active constituents in there. Ibuprofen has one. Okay.
Wow.
So there's
Okay.
200 different things that lavender can do inside of the body.
Mm,
So when you use them, you don't have to know exactly what you're using it for. Your body knows. And
okay.
so it's going to pull from there. Maybe it's working on mold or bacteria or inflammation or whatever. It's going to pull the ingredients that it needs, and they're not hard on your organs, which is one of the biggest deals for me because that's all I saw was you be
Yeah.
taking one thing for one thing and then end up with three other things plus
Yeah.
like this major organ issue. And they're in and out of your body in about 4 hours. So they're not hard on any part of your body. Your body only uses what it needs, it gets rid of what it doesn't. And so they're kind of foolproof, which
I
is,
love
I
that.
think, really nice.
I love that. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up. That was another request of my sister's. If you feel like going into just a, an overview of how, just any more details, because I know you've done the science and you've gone to those classes and you've probably toured the headquarters. And, if there's anything else that you can share with us about, how they work. But what you just said is actually pretty dang good too. So,
Yeah, I will share something because it's important. So, one of the things that sets doTERRA apart, there's two things, there's a lot of things, but
yeah.
two of the ones that I want to talk about is they source their oils from around the world
Hmm.
from where they grow in the best habitat.
Okay.
And so that is where we get the potency from. And that's why they work on things like they do. Because there's so many companies, because of the success that doTERRA has had, that are like, oh, we're going to sell essential oils too. And so they'll
Yeah.
get them through
Copycat.
brokers and they trade hands who knows how many times. And each time they trade hands, they're going to be watered down or something in some way for that transaction to make that person money.
Mm,
So doTERRA only works directly with their grower. They have exclusive contracts with their growers. So when people say we get it from the same place doTERRA does, they're lying.
okay. That's
And
good to know.
yeah, and it matters. It matters so much. Every little detail of frankincense. Two things I can tell you. One, when people that had cancer were using frankincense and going to their doctors and showing positive results in the test. The doctors were like, at first they were like, what is this? And then eventually they're like, what are you using? So science has tried to take frankincense. Well,
Mhm.
I'm not supposed to be saying any of this, but I will anyways. Um, they have they have tried to they want to know what the active ingredient is inside of frankincense so that
Yeah,
they can synthesize it and come up with something. And
makes me
Dr.
so
Hill
mad.
what Dr. Hill has told them, he's like, so say in frankincense, you have this graph with 200 lines all over it. Some are big peaks and some are tiny peaks.
Yeah.
They only want to replicate the big peaks because they think those are the most important. And
Yeah.
he's like, no, it's these. It's the little tiny things that like make the nuance that make it do what it does.
Mm,
So in a lot of the competing oils, they will even throw out tests. And I just heard this from Dr. Hill like 2 days ago, which is why I want to share it. I think it's so
mhm.
important. And they will say they do a test like doTerra does, and they'll show the results, and the results look so similar. And he'll say, what you have to understand is one, where we get them from, the quality, and then two, we don't do anything to change anything about the chemistry. And a lot of other places do. They'll make it want to smell better. Like they want the lavender to be a little sweeter. They want
Really?
the peppermint to be a little brighter,
Oh, no.
or they
So
want to cheapen it. So
yeah.
you'll have an expensive oil like Melissa,
Mhm.
and then you have an inexpensive oil like lemongrass. To smell them, they don't smell that different. And so when they test
Mm,
oils from other companies, they'll find 10% Melissa, 90% lemongrass.
that should be a crime, like, that's terrible. 'Cause people are
And
trusting that.
yes, sorry. What were they?
No, yeah.
So what he was talking about is they've tested other oils from the companies that you see on Facebook that you can get frankincense for $9. And they'll
Right.
test them and they actually cause an inflammatory response in the
Oh,
body.
great.
So inflammation is the number one cause of disease. The
Mhm.
reason we're using frankincense and using all of this stuff is to bring down inflammation. So when you're using a
Yeah,
cheap oil from the drugstore, it can actually be making you sicker. That's the point. So it's so important for people to know that
yeah.
quality really does matter and you do get what you pay for.
I love that. That was really, really, really important that you brought that out because you're right. I mean, on Amazon, everywhere, it's like, well, it's the same thing. No, it's not. No, it's not. And that exclusivity that you mentioned for the farms, that's really good to know. Because I've never gone into it, and I don't even know if you would want to right now. But just the difference between the main competitors, even, they claim that theirs is, you know, um, like you said, from the same places, but they're not. So that was really helpful. Um, and going into the holiday season, people are using lots of scents to make their house smell good and things like that. And if they're not using essential oils, then they're just really making their homes a toxic environment with these synthetic chemicals, not just for the humans, but the plants and the animals as well. Um, and as an animal lover, that's something that I'm curious about. I know some essential oils are safe for dogs, but not safe for cats, and vice versa. Do you happen to know off the top of your head just a couple that are safe for both that people could maybe diffuse in their home?
I don't know a lot about cats because I've never had cats.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
I can't
Makes
speak
sense.
to cats, but we've always had dogs, so I can
Yeah.
speak to dogs. And it's funny because so dogs and horses
Mm.
are their chemistry is very similar to humans and what oils work well for them.
Oh, good.
Um, and like that's cool if you have horses because if they get an upset stomach, like it can lead to huge
It can
problems.
kill
And
them.
digestion, you can just put
Yep.
a little bit in their lip or you can add it to their hay and it
Oh,
helps keep their
cool.
stomachs good, which is huge.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Mhm. And then with dogs, the only ones that we avoid for sure, I mean, there's a lot, but tea tree is a common one that people will use for themselves. You don't use
Mhm.
tea tree on dogs,
Okay.
Melaleuca. And there's other ones, but there's books, like there's resources. I
Yeah.
just know off the top of my head for sure, no tea tree.
Okay. And off the top of your head, for sure, which maybe name like two or three, if you happen to, off the top of your head, know that are definitely safe if you have dogs and you want to diffuse them.
I mean, even with animals, you just always want to make sure that they have the option to leave the room because
Oh,
they're smart.
okay.
The only time there's been issues with pets was not doTERRA oils, number one. And number two, when they diffused in a small bedroom and the door was closed. So it was
Yeah, they're
just too
trapped.
overpowering. It was too much.
Okay.
But I mean, I just wouldn't diffuse tea tree. I
Okay.
think that's about it. The rest of them, and yeah, I even diffuse on purpose because we have two rescues and they're like very needy and kind of have anxiety. And
Yeah.
so I'll diffuse on purpose for them to settle them down and get them to calm
Oh, that's cool. So what's an example? Like lavender, would you diffuse that?
down. Lavender
Okay.
is a good one.
Okay.
We have a blend that's called Calm that
Mhm.
is for hormone balancing for women. So it's
Mhm.
good for PMS and bloating and cramps and everything.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious because when I use it on myself, it's a really strong one because it has geranium, it has a lot of strong scents in there.
Mhm.
When I use it on myself, the dogs knock out. And so my husband thinks that's hilarious. And we're just
That
like,
is funny.
you're so strong. And they're just like on the dogs, it's like totally zonked.
That's
So
funny. And
yeah.
so it's safe for them. It just calms them.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. Wow. Well, I love that you found a business that just checks off all the boxes. You know, it's saved your husband's life. I mean, that's a huge one. It gave you your life back with your migraines, gave you freedom, gave you a good financial situation. You no longer have to be chained to a desk, and you're helping other people with their self development, personal growth, building their self esteem and confidence, and they're helping make the world healthier. Animals, homes, people. Um, that there's a lot to say about that. You know, not every company can you get all of those things in one place. So it's pretty awesome that you're doing this, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us and with my audience. If people are interested in joining your team, how can they reach out to you?
So I'm on Instagram and Facebook, Beth Phillips. So if you find me on there, and something that would be fun right now, and we've done it for about a year now, I do studies every month. And so we target three categories. One is pain, another is stress, and the
Okay.
third is digestion, because those seem like pretty big pain points in most
Okay.
people's life. They usually have one of those three going on. And so if they want to contact me and give me their information, then I send out samples for a week's worth of usage. And then
Mhm.
they join us in a group and we go through what they're using and why. It's all online. They just do it on their own time. But
Mhm.
it's really fun and it gives people a really good experience for a week to see, are these going to make a difference for me? And we
Wow.
love to do it. And so, yeah, we run them every month.
Oh, very cool. And so, so that shows how powerful they are if people can actually get the experience that they need to know if it's going to work for them in just 1 week.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So then they basically find you on Instagram or Facebook and then request to be part of the study.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I'll communicate with them. They can just say they want to be a part of the study if they don't remember the three categories. And then I'll
Yeah,
just say, which one do you want to be a part of? And then get their stuff sent to them.
that's a really, really great way to do it. You're educating and helping people get a chance to experience it as well. So I love that. Perfect. And then Phillips, can you spell Phillips since there's a couple different ways?
Yes. Phillips.
Okay, perfect. We got it. All right, you guys. Well, thank you again, Beth, for sharing all this awesome information with us. And yeah, just really appreciate you coming on the show. And yeah, everybody reach out to Beth because she has an amazing team and she obviously knows her stuff.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me and asking such good questions. This was
It,
fun.
it was fun. I enjoyed it so, so much.